I would love for this content to last a while. I would love for this content to last months, maybe even a year, before anyone can actually 100% it. And I would love that 100% to come from unexpected places, to come from champions that are just severely, just criminally underused.
Hey everybody, hope you're having a good day. Now, this is another episode of our podcast, but this one is a solo effort by Cam. I don't have a lot of time this week or the next. I'm going through a move, a potential move. Well, I'm definitely moving apartments, and there might even be another move following that in just a few months, and we're looking into all those details. So quite busy, and didn't have a lot of time to do podcasts, to just be flexible with our schedule so that we could have a conversation. So Cam took it upon himself to record something about Labyrinth 2.0, what he would like to see, and I thought it was really interesting. Actually, it sparked a lot of ideas in me when I listened to it, so I'm looking forward to, I think, maybe recording a solo response one to that with my own ideas. And I definitely think I'd like to sprinkle in some solo content from myself, Cam, any other content creators out there who do listen to this. I'd like to, maybe we could work something out where we have multiple contributors. So this is a group effort. But anyway, I will let you guys listen to it. It's a pretty short one, but it's got lots of content in it. So hope you enjoy. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have no idea how to start a podcast. This is Cam, and I am recording this solo because Idolus has to move, and he asked me to maybe record some stuff solo, and we can upload them to the podcast platform. And for this episode, I wanted to talk about something that I have been thinking about for a while, and something that I think at the current state of the game is very much needed. Well, probably not very much, but still needed. I'm going to be talking about my vision of the next iteration of the Labyrinth, and I'm recording this in a small closet because of echo. So it's a ludicrous situation right here. All right. Why do we need the next iteration of Labyrinth? Well, also I hope I don't bore y'all with with all the rambling. So why do we need it? I think currently in the game we have come somewhat full circle. We started with solo content being exclusively the mode of progression in the game. Then they introduced alliances, then Alliance War, Alliance Quest. You got shards from those, and you got rank of materials, and I feel currently the Alliance events, and especially Alliance Wars and the season especially, they have such a high weight when it comes to actually progressing for an endgame player. And events like Labyrinth, well, I don't even want to talk about Realm of Legends because that's just irrelevant. Events of Labyrinth, I think, are still challenging, still require high rank champions and you know items and revives and units and money and all that. But at the same time, I don't think they're really worth it anymore because considering that you pretty much right now you would be unwise to go into Labyrinth without a rank 5 champion, and you don't actually get materials to rank 5 another champion from there. So, like, it really doesn't add up, to be honest. So, I believe that the next logical step would be a follow up to Labyrinth. And especially with tier 5 basic being such an integral material right now. You see that alliance players that are trying to progress outside alliances are just suffering heavily. And when it comes to prestige, when it comes to top champions, when it comes to tools you have to complete content with, players that are trying to complete the game without relying on 29 other people are just suffering, and I think that's an imbalance of its own. And also, I feel the next iteration of Labyrinth would help streamline a bit of the progression towards 6 stars, because if y'all remember, 6 stars when they were announced, we were still not able to actually get our first rank 5 5 star. So they were prematurely announced. I don't think they actually mattered back then. I don't think they still matter really. They some of them are diversity defenders. If you get really lucky, you pull a Corvus, you pull a Domino, you put a Cap Infinity War. You can use them, but at the same time, you're not really going to be using them over your rank 5 5 stars because they're just so much more powerful. And also, you are not going to be really tempted to rank 2 a 6 star because they cost significantly higher than rank 5 and 5 star, and you have no way of actually awakening them, and you have no way of actually giving them a higher prestige, and you're gonna have your alliance suffer because of their lower prestige, and like the difference between a rank 5 5 star and a rank 2 6 star is like a 10% health and attack, so it really doesn't matter. So how can this be done? How can a new Labyrinth be done? Well, this is an interesting topic because I think the two previous iterations of, quote unquote, like something of Legends, it has been primarily focused on high health pools and maybe some nodes, maybe some challenging fights, maybe some fights that require a specific champion. But I think high health pool and what they implemented in the old Labyrinth with the enrage timers, I don't think that's the way to go anymore because it's just boring. It's just you can design difficult content without actually giving it like 1.5 million health pool. You can design it in a way that requires players to think, requires players to change their playstyle, to adapt, to bring different champions, to utilize their whole roster um, without actually having them be at 5 million health pool. So how can this be done? I feel, personally, for me, it's a lot more important to have more interesting fights, but have those fights to be interesting on their own rather than being interesting in a series of fights. Like in the current version of Labyrinth, there's like lanes where you have to take maybe like a Juggernaut or a a Venom pool or a Asian Venom or maybe Doctor Strange. Some of the fights that are just clearly more challenging and more interesting, but at the same time, you can take those individually, and when you put the paths together, maybe that's an interesting, fun path with a lot of health pools, and it can be an expensive path for sure. But I feel what I would rather see is have each node, each defender, to be interesting as a fight on their own, rather than a lane of challenging fights. Because a lane of challenging fights can eventually be cleared with a team of maybe like 1 or 2 attackers and just the rest of support characters. But if you design every fight in this new hypothetical labyrinth in a way that they're interesting, they're challenging, they're multi-phased on their own, you will have to actually strategize and think about every single path. And this is where I get to my main point here. I would love to see a labyrinth with 20-25 paths, but each path only has one defender on it. So you basically you have to clear one of the paths for completion rewards, and you have to clear all of the paths for exploration rewards. And for reward structure, I think what we are missing in the game right now, especially when it comes to solo content like Act 5, Labyrinth of Legends, Realm of Legends, are repeatable content, because you can do Labyrinth over and over again for 1 6 stone, or you can do Realm of Legends for health potions, but that is not really enticing, or for most people that is not really, that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really justify the time you spent on it. That doesn't really justify the units and the potions and the resources you spend on it. So what I would love to see for the next iteration of Labyrinth is a repeatable version. So after you 100% the entire content, after you finish the entire Labyrinth, 20 paths, however many paths there are, I would love to see uh, this one additional path being unlocked to you that was previously locked. This one additional path being unlocked to you with like a key or something that contains 3 defenders, right? 3 defenders randomly assigned every month, so randomly reset every month. Everyone gets the same 3 defenders. These 3 defenders would be taken from the actual defenders in the labyrinth and placed on the same lane, but they will all have 1/3 of the health and attack as their counterpart that is actually in Labyrinth. So you go through this path and you defeat these 3 defenders and you receive 1/3 of the completion reward for the actual Labyrinth. So it's a sizable reward, but it's not too sizable. You will not miss out on too much if you don't actually want to complete it, or if you don't have time to complete it, or if you can't complete it for like a given month, if the defenders are just too hard, if the RNG just was too cruel. Uh, but I feel this would add something to the content that will make it longer lasting. Eventually when the newer champions come out, when you have access to higher level, higher ranked champions, this would be much easier to do, and that would give you a good gauge on how much your account has progressed, how much the game has progressed. But at the same time, I feel this would also incentivize people to go back in there to if you're done with all the content of the game, you want to have something to do. Well, there's a Labyrinth 2.0 repeat rewards. So, and when I get to rewards, to my proposed rewards, I'll explain to you how much this 1/3 of completion rewards would mean. And why is this good? Well, I think some of the best content we have had in the past couple of months, or maybe months to a year, has been the lab kind of style content, especially for endgame players. You These randomized style of content are pretty fresh, are pretty like every time you go in there, you don't know what to expect, you don't know who to bring. You just go in there with this mentality of, okay, I'm gonna be prepared for every possible scenario. But in this case, you actually get to see the map, you actually get to see the defenders every month. So like that whole reset period, when you're waiting for the reset, is just gonna be very exciting. It's just gonna be, you're gonna be looking forward to it because you have already done it this month. You want to see what's next month. And these are not going to be like easy defenders. These are not going to be super hard defenders. These are going to be like equivalent of maybe like twice as strong as a war boss, each of them. So I think, and they're also all going to be multi-phase. So that's going to be just adding another level of interestingness to the content. Just drinking some water here. Okay, so for the reward system, it smells weird in here. For the reward system, I would. These are my proposed rewards, but I'm sure it doesn't matter to Kabam. But I would like to see something like this. So for the completion rewards, it's just for one lane. You complete one lane, and you get these. You will get around 100 5-star 6 stones generic. So 100 generic 5-star 6 stones, one T5B, 26 6-star 6-stone crystals, and 3 T2As. Right. So when it comes to actual the monthly repeat, you will get around like 33 5-star generic stones, 15k T5B shards, 7 6 stones for 6 stars, and 1 T2A, which is, pretty good, but still not too overpowered. And for the 100% completion, 100 6 stones crystals for 6 stars, 6-star generic gem, 1 T5 CC of every class, because if they introduce RNG in this, that's going to be awful, especially how hard 6 stars are to get, and 6 T5B and 10 T2A. Now I have intentionally left out the shard rewards here because I feel that part really depends on how the game actually looks by the time content like this is added. Because right now, for the completion, maybe 30,000 5-star shards and 10,000 6-star shards may look pretty good, but in 6 months, maybe you want to bump that 30,000 to 60,000. Maybe you want to bump that 10,000 to 20,000. Maybe you want to. I mean, depends on like how the game actually looks by then. But I feel the rest of the rewards are pretty balanced when it comes to the content and how difficult I think it should be. Okay, so map structure and enemies. I would love to see 20 to 30 Thanoses. Not specifically Thanos in the literal sense of the word, but Thanoses in the sense that I want to see Agent Venom that has 5 different phases. I want to see Spider-Gwen with 5 different phases. I definitely want to see Thanos come back because that's kind of my favorite fight in the entire history of the game, and I think I would love for this content to actually top that. So, yeah. uh, and also, when it comes to map structure, I don't want to see a boss. I don't want to see, a final boss that you have to fight every single time because that's just boring. Nobody wants that. I would just rather each fight to be a boss, and you just move to the fight. You move to a portal. The portal teleports you to some other place, and then you just click it, and that's it. That's your completion done. And it can look crazy. It can look however they want it to look, but at the same time, I would love to see an unlocked map, an unlocked view, because locked cameras, they're interesting. They're an interesting concept, but if Kabam really thinks that locked camera in Labyrinth or in Act 5 is actually something good or challenging or interesting in the sense that we are still having fun using them, we are not. That's just stupid. Get rid of locked cameras, because all they do at the moment is maybe cause someone to take a wrong path somewhere and maybe have to do the path again. But how often does that happen? Not very often. People keep track of the paths, people keep track of where they go, and locked cameras are just asinine. Just get rid of them. I want to see the entire map. I want to see it in this entire glory. Make it pretty. Make the map look crazy. I would love to see the current Labyrinth map zoomed out in game, because locked cameras are just stupid. Okay, so you get to see everyone. You get to see every node. You don't actually get to see their abilities without actually moving to them, because that's not really how the game works. But moving to them is just going to cost you energy. It's not going to cost you like fights. It's not going to cost you revives. It's just energy. Okay, so for the challenges and what I would like to see in there, as I mentioned, I would love to see 20 to 30 Thanoses. I would love to see champs that have phases that are activated by their health pool, that are phases that are activated by you know you doing an action, using SP2, you blocking. They can enter a phase while you're blocking. They can enter a phase while you parry. They can enter a phase while they're stunned. They can enter a phase if they use SP1. They can enter a phase if they use SP2, and uh, I think that could just make the fights a lot more interesting and more challenging without making them boring and asinine, without making them Labyrinth Red Hulk, or without making them any of the easy path champions in Labyrinth. Colossus, ugh. Uh, Labyrinth, Abomination, just atrocious fights, all of them. So the nodes that can be implemented here are just endless. I'm sure Kabam would do a great job with bringing nodes that are challenging, with bringing nodes that we have never seen before. But even with the current pool of the nodes, I think some of the aspect nodes, some of the aspect of chaos, aspect of evolution, aspect of whatever, those nodes are pretty interesting. They can be implemented in the actual content because they were implemented in Thanos. Some of the aspect nodes, you degen 80% of your health and you regain it right back. That's just one of the examples. You get instant KO if he hits you after a certain special and in a certain stage. So I think those are all pretty interesting nodes that can be modified into something that can fit inside a labyrinth style content. There can be bleed, poison, incinerate, shock. All the debuffs, all the interesting debuffs that can be countered one way or another. You can avoid them. You can probably just power through them with some willpower or some other mastery or some other synergy. Power gain, unstoppable, unblockable, evade, auto block, regen. And when it comes to regen, you can have buffet, masochism, vigor, aggressive regen. And you want to have each fight. If you want to have each fight act as a boss, you want to have each fight act as a interesting encounter. You want to have each of these nodes integrated in there. You want to have multiple nodes integrated in every fight, and you want to have them make sense, because you probably don't want to have Spider Gwen incinerate you or I don't know, some champs that don't actually have these. You don't want to have those champions do something that they're not supposed to do, so you want to have them make sense in the context of the game, but at the same time you want to have each fight to be a multi-phase action, right? I would love to actually use all 5 champions when fighting each and every one of these bosses. Now, these don't have to be like significantly different champions, but I would love to see maybe 20 to 30 different champions used in 100%ing this content. And when I say I wouldn't like to see like 2 million health pool or an enrage timer in this, because I would love to see 4 stars, diverse 4 stars at rank 5, or diverse 5 stars at rank 3 being usable here, and being usable enough to actually like clear a boss in a certain stage of their health or in a certain stage of the fight. That actually makes sense. I would love to see a fight that would reward you for using Taskmaster. I would love to see a fight that would reward you for using Rocket Raccoon. Fights that are just designed for those characters. And in a certain stage, you want to bring in your 4-star Rocket. Just put him in there. Take off 20% of the boss's health. Move on to the next stage. Move on to the next champion. And this could be the beginning of a move that I would love to see the game go towards. I would love to see the game move towards a stage where a lot more than the common, top 5, top 10 different attackers actually matter. And a move like this was done in Alliance Wars by introducing diversity, and I think that has been one of the best things about Alliance Wars, because it gives purpose to 50 different characters in the game. 50. It's not uncommon to see people saying, this is a top 50 defender, so he's worth it. He's a good champion, so go for a top 50 defender. And I think a content like this that allows you to utilize easily and readily without having to invest too many resources some champions that you wouldn't usually invest resources in, I think that would be amazing. I think that would be incredible for the future of the game. I think that would be incredible for the years to come of the game. And I would like for this content to seem, or actually to be, unbeatable at the time of release, because you don't want people to do the same thing that they did to Labyrinth and complete it like the first day with Scarlet Witch, have to take it down because you forgot to realize how imbalanced your game is. And I would love for this content to last a while. I would love for this content to last months, maybe even a year, before anyone can actually 100% it. And I would love that 100% to come from unexpected places, to come from champions that are just severely, just criminally underused. I would love for Electro or for OG Spider-Man to be the key to 100%ing this. Champs that nobody would think about, champs that nobody would actually consider when going in, to be the key to actually 100%ing it. And of course, along the way, there's going to be new champs added that are targeting, certain challenging fights in there. And, they have to do that because it's not a charity. You don't play this game for free because it's a charity. It's because you get to play this game for free because people are paying for it. And players are paying for it. You don't really see ads in the game because people are paying for it. And there are going to be new characters coming out, and those are going to be good counters to certain fights in there. But I would love for the actual key to 100% to be maybe a champion that nobody thought about, an old champion that nobody thought about. Yeah, I think that just does it for me. If y'all have any thoughts about this version of Labyrinth, or you want to see more of the solo kind of content or less of them, I'm all ears. Email in or write comments. I would like to thank Idolus for giving me this platform and allowing me to record this and send it in. And I would love to thank all of y'all for actually listening and saying nice comments. It's always nice to see people saying, I like your podcast and all that. So that's always nice. And I would also like to wish Idolus best of luck with his move and with the stuff going on in his life. And that's about it. Take care, y'all.